Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. Guess while I get stuff set up and test out audio to make sure everything's functional. Test out audio to make sure everything's functional. Test out audio to make sure everything's functional. YouTube is good? Oh. Welcome to the stream. Okay, YouTube is good. Twitch. I think that Twitch doesn't update whenever I need it to. Twitch. Okay. Yeah, welcome to more pirate software. So this is definitely gonna be more chill at the start. Later on it's gonna be a little more energetic. Well, energetic's not the right word. But stuff will happen towards the middle where I've got hopefully a little second wind of energy. I have been like crazy tired today. But like okay. Twitch got it. Kit got it. YouTube got it. Sweet. Okay, let's close those out because I don't need myself watching. Actually, I probably probably do in terms of like literal just like algorithm hiking. But yeah, okay. So we got a couple of videos here. I guess I can talk about Fish Tank until I have everything proper set up. God, so Fish Tank got kicked out of its house. This has happened before in season 3, but this time they're like out, it seems like. So that sucks for them. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about Fish Tank. Want to see... Okay. So Stop Killing Games from prior to Ross's video, I think it was just at like 480,000 or so. It is now at 566,000. So if you are in the EU or of the EU, go ahead and sign that. So I need a couple more. I need one more tab open. I am tired. I am super tired, just to let everybody know. So I guess first off, let's start with a harmful opinions video, because I need to get some energy. I think that's a good way of starting. This is I hate pirate software so much. There has been a lot more stuff. Pirate Software's response, this is mostly what that'll be covering. This is what it'll be covering. You can tell I'm tired. I don't talk like normal this. Fuck. Okay, let's just get into it. But yeah, so I think overall there's been some pretty positive updates. The internet has definitely turned on Pirate Software for Stop Killing Games a lot here. And we will see right after that.
Already, because Pirate Software has decided to continue actively being a silly little boy. He has made a couple of statements and, for once, not deleted them. Been reading through all the...
Yeah, so that'll be a thing later. I have a Chud Logic video pulled up with some more evidence of that, just in case. But yeah, Pirate Software has been deleting his posts or editing them quite a lot. And there's even potentially deleting videos. This is actually one of the accusations that Ross made, is that he deleted videos from like... Oh shit. He's been deleting videos from, was it like July 30th to August 16th or so? So that's no good.
Posts against me over my stance on the Stop Killing Games initiative.
It's made things a lot harder.
You should watch my video. I just talk about your conduct and rhetoric, and incidentally have to mention your stance. Tons of people calling me a liar or that I misrepresented the initiative. 'Cause you are, And you did. We'll get to his strategy of dodging this soon. Also, lots of content creators dogpiling on this to get their pound of flesh. Boo-hoo.
Me too, that's
the
me.
language
That's
of
me.
harassment. Dogpiling you. They're covering a guy who was trying to get attention for his take negatively. But
It is kind of funny. One of the things that I hate the most about like the internet sphere is how much people will be like, you're dogpiling me, you're harassing me for like bringing you attention. But that's like that's the entire like point of being a celebrity. That's like the point of fame, is to get attention. And so people get it negative. And Pirate Software does this a lot, right? If like the first time you get a load of negative attention, it sucks, whatever. You might be like, oh my god, how am I getting this much negative attention? Oh my god. But that's like part and parcel of being online and having stupid opinions or not well thought out opinions. Or lying, or just straight up lying. And it's one of the things that makes me think that Pirate Software is a liar. I think he uses this as like a tactic. His tactic is saying, you're harassing me, even though we're bringing you like the smallest amount of negative attention to your brand. And it's like, you making a video on me has caused harassment. Okay, but like, it's only harassment when it's negative, right? I do think that there is a point where like negative attention can become harassment, like especially if it goes too far. But simply like leaving negative comments, I don't think that counts as harassment.
But it was 10 months ago. If one of your old videos popped off because people loved it, you wouldn't be crying. Let's dig into what I actually did and said.
And I guess to be clear, that's just negative comments. That's not like death threats or I mean, yeah, death threats. It's just like making fun of you. Like, who cares?
Worry, buddy, we will. I put out 2 videos on August 6th and August 7th, 2024. Now,
also, like, okay, I know I'm like pausing a shitload. I just have a lot to say because I'm dumb. Isn't it crazy how he just like streamed through his furry messages getting leaked and then was like, no, I have to respond. I must respond to Ross.
that's true, but he also did a lot more than that. He has actually talked about it on stream a bunch of times. Here he is with the page up on the 19th of July. And we know he also streams about it sometime after July 31st, because Accursed Farms has clips of Pirate Software reacting to a video that was released on July 31st.
Pirate Software totally lied about stuff.
It's shit. Not only do I not want to
about these videos not existing.
back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to.
In my previous video, I said I couldn't find that VOD and suspected he deleted it. But now I can confirm that he absolutely did delete it, alongside the other streams he was talking about it around that time.
I went through the Reddit for their initiative for that, and there were a number of posts in there that were people saying we should keep baiting him and attacking him, because if we do that, he'll keep talking about it, and then more people will sign the initiative. They were planning that shit.
Yo.
And those threads are still there.
That's a good idea. I mean, look, just in terms of purely getting eyes on things, yeah, that's a great idea actually, because you're a big guy. You will keep making content about it. You like even you reacting this way will make more certain that this gets signed. And that was one of the issues with Ross, is he wasn't like drama baiting enough. But dude, this has gotten so many eyes on it. I think it's niche reference here, I guess, whatever. Stupid for me to even point that out. Ross did an interview with Patrician TV a while ago. And in that, I believe Patrician actually does suggest making a drama video about the Pirate Software stuff, which I think, like, yeah, he totally should have way earlier. And he didn't until now. I think, like, if he wanted the most success, he should have, like, gone after the biggest people, but a bit more pushy about it. Hopefully it gets signed now, but yeah.
They're still up. People are still talking about that shit on there. So instead of that, I just deleted all the VODs where we were talking about it. I kept my videos up and I walked away.
Oh, so
Who
he
knows
admitted to
what was
deleting
said
it.
to
What?
thousands and thousands of people on those live streams. What we know he did say, though, is counter to the image of himself he's trying to present right now. He wants to portray himself as the level-headed guy, beleaguered by rude trolls, when his now hidden VODs showed he was talking like this.
Eat my entire ass. The level
Yeah.
of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours.
Let's dig into what I actually did and said. He says from a throne of deleted VODs. He continues and says many people have not watched the videos he made. Yeah, and even fewer have had the chance to look through those VODs you deleted to see what you were telling thousands and thousands of people. Anyway, many people have not watched them and are just calling me a liar or attacking my character. Who? Throbbing Pepe69 on Twitter? Monetization on these videos is disabled, so no, this is not some ploy to increase revenue. That is an insane thing to have to defend yourself against.
Yeah, also, no, I don't think anybody's, like, cared about your revenue on this. Did Ross even bring up money that you were making on this? That seems like such a weird defense, just because it wasn't something that was getting attacked.
And he really doesn't have to. But if he does, it serves to characterize his detractors, right? This is the kind of person he's dealing with. He has to say that. I just care about this subject and have rightful concerns as a person working in this space. I wouldn't have anything to say, but he had to say rightful, i.e. justified concerns, didn't he? Bro, one of your takes was that you're scared that if SKG is successful, the government's gonna enslave game devs who made live service games and force them to work on it forever.
I don't want the government telling
that was so
indies that
stupid.
they have to have
I
their
can't
live service
believe
game stay online
I still can't believe he actually said that. What an like, how fucking stupid do you have to be to fucking say that? That's like actually that is like nearly schizophrenic. That is such a poor reading of it that it almost has to be maliciously stupid, right? Because like, how the fuck, how do you get there?
Ever. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. But when you're talking about a legal setting to force people to do this, you're generally moving in that direction.
This guy wants to talk about delusional perspectives, while seriously floating the idea that there's a chance the EU would legislate to make it so that if you're an indie dev and make a live service game, that's it. That's your life now. Get in the server maintenance cage. He then moves on to tell us what he actually said in his first video. As with his claim that he made 2 videos, all of this technically true, but that's not.
So, okay. In the first video, I go through what an initiative is, how it's not law, and how it's the starting point for the entire process. This helps people understand that this is a conversation for change and can adapt later. I then go through the initiative and some of its goals from the official page for it. I then talk about the repercussions of them and how they should be implemented, or repercussions of them should they be implemented. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought because text appeared on the screen. As written, all games need to be left in a functional, playable state. Yeah, that does not mean that it needs to be held up forever, which is why, like, he, as a game dev, should know that. Should know that that's not what that means at all. Next, I bring up the crew and walk through the business around it. The sequels. And the size of the player base at time of sunset. I did this because it was called out by the initiative as examples of publishers destroying the game. Yeah, I think that's fair. Again, I think the crew was a bad option, but there wasn't a better one, for sure. I also harshly critique Ross Scott's wording in this video because they disparage the lawmaking process and lawmakers, which doesn't benefit players or this movement in any way. No, I don't think he does disparage them. I disagree with that.
Not all that was in the video. He has chosen to omit the #1 misrepresentation he made. Accurate statements don't cancel out misrepresentations unless they are directly addressing that misrepresentation. If I made a video where I said, Pirate Software killed my dog, and he's a game developer, people get mad and I respond and I say, well, here's what I actually said. I just thought people should know that Pirate Software is a game developer. That's not countering the hate.
Yeah.
That's lying by omission. If you want detail on the misrepresentation, check out my last video. There's something else I want to look at here. Pirate Software says, I also harshly critique Ross Scott's wording in his videos because they disparage the lawmaking process and lawmakers, which doesn't benefit players or this movement in any way. Multiple problems with this. Some of what Pirate Software said in his video could be construed as a critique of his wording, but in addition to that form of critique, Pirate Software also mischaracterized what was simply Ross describing why it could work, explaining a state of affairs that would exist regardless, as if it were Ross's tactic his strategy to push it through.
If you're going to be setting precedent, if you're going to be putting forward something that you want to start a conversation to eventually become legislation, and these are the reasons for it, not only can I not agree with the initiative, but I can't agree with you. And I think that the tactics
dude,
that
what
you're
a
using
dickhead.
here are really disgusting.
He called Ross's description of how things are disgusting tactics. When it's not something he's doing, it's something he's describing.
Yeah,
That would be
absolutely. That is so insane. Like, I don't know how many times it can be said, but Pirates Offstar's like fucking representation of this entire thing has been so wrong, so like intentionally misconstrued. I like, that's the thing. That's like the real debate I think right now, and that's like the main thing that's become such like a hyper focal point. Is like, is he lying or is he actually this stupid? Because it just seems so malicious, and that's not something he can get away from, because it does seem just that terribly bad.
Regardless of the gaming-related initiative being proposed. Correct or not, it's what he believes. If he decided not to say that when he thinks it's the case, for the purpose of providing a different appearance of his campaign, that would be disingenuous. So it's not a tactic, but as far as disgusting goes, why does he think it's disgusting? He doesn't make that perfectly clear in the video,
No, he doesn't.
but his recent Twitter post explains, as we already saw, that he says he critiqued the wording because it disparages the lawmaking process and lawmakers.
Also, who cares about what lawmakers think? Okay, we only care so much that they like. We're not like hanging out with them. We're not their buddies. I mean, I'm sure you know at some, like somebody's friends with a lawmaker, right? But like, also lawmaker is pretty vague. They can be a judge, it can be a senator, a house, or a representative. But yeah, who cares that they like think anything about anything else except for this fucking issue? It's so weird. Like what? They'll disparage them by thinking like, oh, they're the fucking. It's like not condescending. I don't know what the word is though, but it's like sucking up to them, where it's like, oh, aren't lawmakers so like. Fucking, they need to be represented. They need to be fucking respected to the highest degree, because they're something. When it's like, no, I don't think it matters that much what an American thinks of fucking I think of Johannes Blaskowitz in fucking Poland.
Because it doesn't benefit the movement, and he says just players. It's bad for all players. This is very, very strange to me, because before Ross put out that video where he explains why he thought the initiative could succeed, Pirate Software had discussed Stop Killing Games and had a few words of his own to say about the government.
The moment you have
Love
the
your
government
content. Join your next stream with friends. Fuck off.
step in and try to regulate this shit, it's going to be awful. If you think the government can manage anything, you haven't been around long enough. Legitimately. That is a terrifying prospect. Letting the government get into video games is a terrible goddamn idea.
No,
Awful.
look, governments are already in video games. I don't know if he knows this, but like the Chinese government is heavily invested in video games. And there was like that huge situation just like a couple years ago with fucking like gambling in video games that the governments got heavily involved in. I think that, you know, government is kind of going to be involved in literally anything in life. And so like I guess I can kind of understand to a degree, like you don't want more government influence. But like whenever it comes to like online games that are like especially predatory, right? That's another thing, right? Is that a lot of these online games take more than they give, especially like gachas, right? So I think it is okay if you're like, no, I want to keep these skins that I paid like $10,000 for. I want to keep these anime women that I paid $1 million for. You know, 10,000, 20,000, 25,000, 30,000, 40, 50,000. For as long as you can. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there's definitely something wrong with spending that much money on a game. But I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to keep what you purchased.
Whole idea.
But you gambled
You need to
whatever.
get through a couple more presidents before you realize that shit. That is an awful direction. Keep the government out of games. No thank you.
Wait, is this his real position? Or is it just another fake one he thought would be more effective in the moment? And this is the guy we're supposed to now believe is concerned about the disparagement of lawmakers. Seriously though, he was kinda based in this stream.
Oh, also, yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of that, but yeah. Why does he care so much about what lawmakers think whenever he's like, get lawmakers out of video games? I don't want to fucking see their smushed in faces. Their disgusting, fucked up face.
A bit hypocritical because apparently he doesn't consider government force being used to protect intellectual property as the government being in games.
Yeah, that's true. Pirate Software just has so many hypocrisies. I mean, there's a thing that Ross brought up where he's like super defensive, like he loves Diablo 4, but says that he like describes ways that he hates everything about the game. Not the game specifically, but he describes like why he doesn't like free-to-play or predatory games. And he fucking loves Diablo 4. He's like, you know, pretty dumb.
Wonder why. But check this out.
If you want to petition a studio to then have that game released as a live service game with private servers on the outside, you go right ahead. You get the government involved, I am not on your side. I am not on your side even a little bit.
What is he playing here? Is that Just Cause? It might be. No, this is some online game. There's a world chat. What? Oh, it's Once Human.
Government can stay the hell out of games. Yeah, I told you before, I'm not a fan of the government. There's a reason for that shit. Keep them out of games.
What
Stay
is your
games.
reason for not being a fan of the government? Like, in a real sense, why don't you like the government again? There's a reason I don't like the government. Why? Like, the only thing that the government's done is prevent like gambling in games. Did you at least in Europe, right? So did wait. Wait, yeah. Does he hate the government because of fucking gambling in games isn't allowed anymore? Dude, that's fucking crazy.
No. They can't manage shit. They've never been able to manage shit. I don't want them in games. You don't want them in games.
If he's not lying about his feelings here, then literally everything else he's said is a deception. Every last thing he said in his videos, every last thing he's saying in tweets, totally disingenuous. He would be arguing against it no matter what, because his real problem is any government involvement whatsoever. The arguments he's presenting are just whatever he can scrabble for without having to let you know he's this cucked bitch libertarian too scared to state his real position. Unless it's a few hours deep in a stream and he thinks outsiders won't see it. Holy shit! This is more pathetic than I thought.
Yeah, this is
Software
insane.
said this.
To say that the government just doesn't care and this is an easy win and we're going to get it through is disingenuous. You're talking about a multi-billion-dollar global industry. To think that the government isn't going to be meticulously...
Dude, this is a lie in like every single way. It's not a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's like, what is it? Are we into the quadrillions now? Video games are like literally one of the biggest industries on the fucking planet. Jesus Christ. This guy is awful.
Looking through this and looking for flaws and holes is absurd. So I don't think that's honest at all, and I find it disgusting.
Like 2 weeks after saying this.
Government can stay the hell out of video games. They don't even know what the goddamn internet is. And we know that because when the Congress was talking about it, they called for nerds to explain it to them on the goddamn Congress floor.
Yes. Yes, people who don't understand things may need people to help them understand. What the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Wait, dude, this is such ass. This is so ass. Because that's literally all he does. He explains that how like video game development works. He's like, oh, get into games, make games, hashtag make games, right? And then he's like, how he's disparaging lawmakers and government because they fucking don't know what they're talking about. Dude, that's literally all he does is explain to people stuff that they don't know about. He's the nerd who likes to help people, and yet he's making fun of... What the hell?
Do you really want that shit in video games?
This guy was practically calling the government retarded. Granted, he was talking about the US here, so maybe he thinks the EU and UK are run by gamers. But Jesus Christ, do you mean anything you say ever? Or is it literally always just what you think will work?
I don't think he means anything.
Because you were expecting a step-by-step through both of his tweets. But I'm disgusted now. I've lost my appetite for this kind of cringe.
We will be going
Let's
through
finish
his
by
tweets
briefly
later.
scanning his second tweet. He starts with name drops. Just talked to Charlie and Just Drive Hayes for a bit in DMs. So this is going to be about that conversation, yeah? You ought to be careful saying, I talked to so-and-so, and then just stating a bunch of stuff, because it makes it sound like they're co-signing it, or that they advised you or something. And this is the summary of that. When that really...
Yeah, it gives your tweet more power. It gives you more influence because you're bringing up big names, like any kind of like name dropping.
Doesn't seem to be the case.
But the point of me reaching out to him was to talk about his refusal to acknowledge that he did, maybe unintentionally, misrepresent Stop Killing Games. And it led to a just shy of 2 hours, like, circular argument that ultimately got us nowhere. He was more focused on his qualms with Stop Killing Games and really liked to challenge me to prove him wrong about some of his hang-ups with it. And when I would mention, like, the behavior aspect, like, hey, you did misrepresent it, and I'd give him a timestamp, he'd then instead say how I'm wrong for thinking that he misrepresented it. We got nowhere.
This tweet doesn't seem like a very natural outcome of that.
No, because Pirate Software is a liar, and he didn't expect Charlie to talk about Stop Killing Games, or him, because Charlie has been trying to take a step back from drama. And Charlie is like, well, okay, maybe he didn't even see the tweet. Maybe he just felt so impassioned by that conversation to talk about it. I watched his video like hours ago, but honestly, I can barely remember the day. Charlie might have been like, oh, you're fucking misrepresenting the fuck out of what I said, or you're name dropping me to give your tweet more influence, more views and clicks and whatever. Whenever I completely fucking disagree with you. Why the fuck are you name dropping me? It'll be funny to watch that video later.
That he talked to them doesn't seem very relevant to him, simply repeating himself again. Well, hold on. To be fair, it's not all simple repetition. He's got another new real reason he made those videos.
Oh, yeah?
He only made it because you're retarded, and it was his...
Movements like this showcase to me how little the general public understands about game development, modern gaming architecture, and online games as a whole. That's why I put videos out poking holes in this, because it sets the entire conversation back to the Stone Age in terms of developer-player thinking, understanding. Making shit is hard. Making shit when people think it's easy is harder. That's a bit true. I actually did, I had to restart my game because whenever I started making it, well, I didn't restart, I'm making a different game. I came in with like a half understanding, it made things a lot harder, and then whatever. This is fucking irrelevant, whatever. But, I guess so. I think it's better to have a misunderstanding than no understanding at all. Which is, I think, part of the issue with Pirate Software? I don't know.
Duty to improve public knowledge, because you thinking game dev is easy makes game dev hard. Which is funny, because this guy doesn't even understand apologies. If you're mad at me for being a dick to Ross, I get it, and I'm sorry for that. What? You're sorry to the general public for being a dick to Ross? Or
yeah, he's sorry. Yeah, that's a completely understandable misunderstanding on Harmful Opinions' part. But yeah, Pirate Software isn't sorry to Ross. He fucking hates Ross because he thinks Ross is like the devil. Because I guess Pirate Software just decided to hate someone new whenever the Ross stuff happened. But yeah, why would he apologize to Ross? He fucking hates Ross. Instead, he's gonna apologize to the general public because that's who he values. Ross doesn't give him money.
Or you're sorry you made people mad? You don't have to apologize at all, but what the hell is that? This guy's a total social media fried freak. I've had enough. Like I said, see you again about this if he does something funny.
Oh, that was the end of the video. No, no
Sorry,
Neocranium. No. I do recommend watching Neocranium. He's pretty great. Okay, so let's watch Charlie's video now.
10 or 11 months, I've been a lot happier. Glowing, really radiant. You can tell probably just from my voice alone and this striking smile. So what is the secret to this newfound happiness of mine? The one trick doctors don't want you to know? I haven't been online as much. I've been going outside far more frequently, spending time in the real world. And as such, I'm sure many of you have noticed over the last 10 or 11 months, internet drama hasn't been a huge focal point of the channel because I haven't seen a whole bunch of it. I haven't kept up with the vast majority
Understandable.
of it. And of course, occasionally I've still dipped my tootsies in some of it, like if there's something particularly wacky going on, and I still cover like news and crazy shit going on with aliens and all of that kind of thing, or if there's like a really cringe, prankster that got arrested or something, I'll still talk about that. But it's not like a fixation for me like it used to be over the last few years where I was covering any and all internet creator space hoopla.
Yep, okay.
And I want to keep it that way. I'm having a lot more fun
I might
not
speed
doing
him
that.
up. Actually, it's
That
a
being
short
said,
video.
There is something that has unfolded.
No, he's getting
here
to the
that's
important
like
parts.
The
Never
John
mind.
Wick killing the dog moment that's bringing me back, just
True.
very temporarily.
That was a
And
good.
it's
I
Pirate
like John
Software.
Wick 1. That's awesome.
Yesterday I talked about Stop Killing Games, and there's no way to talk about Stop Killing Games without also mentioning Pirate Software because of the profound effect he has had on that initiative in its demise. I say demise, but it's not actually fully cooked, but it has been on life support, and Pirate Software did play a big role in that because of 2 videos he made, as well as a stream, shitting all over it.
Yep.
And that's not even doing it justice. He was full-blown tooting on this. He was shitting on it with some fart on top. And
He was
a lot of
shitting
what
on
was
it with
saying
some
about
fart on
Stop Killing
top.
Games
He's a poopy
wasn't
head.
accurate. It was a misrepresentation of the initiative. And the guy behind it, the guy spearheading it, Ross, finally set the record straight on a lot of the misconceptions that Pirate Software helped to.
I think like the most generous opinion you can have about Pirate Software is that he like genuinely believes. I don't think he's genuine at all. I completely think he's being like a malicious liar. But that doesn't mean I don't hold room that he could like come around or like explain it better or whatever. Heck, this could be like a 4D chess thing where it turns out in fucking at the end of the thing, 1 week left, he's like, all right, guys, I want all of my viewers who live in the EU to go sign it. I don't think that's real. So what I do think though is the most generous opinion is that he genuinely believes that whenever a game is going to be taken offline, it has to be held forever in support by the original devs or whoever the devs find to continue working on it. Oh man, does that fucking that is not true at all, but like maybe he thinks that is like the best thing I can come up with is maybe potentially he thinks that. So like it's just not true, but if it is, that can give like a pretty good understanding, but it does not give way for like why he has such fucking vitriol for Ross at all, or like why he doesn't just reread it and think that it's different. He like truly believes. And you know what's funny is he goes on like he thinks he's like the smartest man ever. He won't say it, but he'll imply it heavily. He doesn't understand, like he could be going in with like a bias, and he could just be like, oh, you know what, I don't know if I fully understand this. I think I'm gonna leave it because I think like what I'm coming away with is way too negative for what he could be real, or anything like that. I don't know. It's just crazy.
To put out there and kind of exacerbate these thought processes that just weren't accurate for what the initiative was actually aiming to do. He finally set the record straight, and I, of course, wanted to talk about it as someone who does actually care about it. Now, as I've said, I've been a little more off the grid. I bought a fucking farm, so I've been, living off the Lord's
Been on
land
a farm?
recently, and I've missed
Hell yeah.
a lot of the internet happenings. So, Pirate Software's previous anime arcs of drama, like with World of Warcraft, and the one after that, 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 I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to. I only got little tiddlywinks, little morsels of lore about it in a few clips, so I never really even understood what was going on there. So Pirate Software's response to everything that happened yesterday really caught me by surprise. That was a
I
subversion
bet.
of my expectations, bigger than Game of Thrones Season 8.
Yeah, Hutcher,
Oh,
I did.
yeah.
I think it's really hilarious to me that that entire community is so butt mad at me for putting out a video 10 months ago about their stuff.
Oh, dude, it's 10 months ago. It's 10 months. You're still like the most influential person. It's not like this thing hasn't been going on for fucking ages now.
And then not being refuted, and now it's my fault that everything is going wrong for them.
I cannot
ever
believe
said that?
his ego. His ego is so out of control. I feel like he's only a week or two away from exclusively referring to himself in third person, like Stone Cold fucking Steve Austin. And that's the truth, because Pirate Software said so. Some shit like that. It's crazy how he's responded. The smugness is nails on a chalkboard. It just makes you feel icky listening to it. And he goes on that same talking point multiple times in the clip about how, like, oh, I guess I'm fully to blame. I guess because I made those videos 10 months ago, it's my fault entirely that this whole thing crashed and burned.
Yeah, that's like that's what, like, my big thing with it being narcissistic is like, oh, it's my fault that it's entirely my fault. And it's like, no, but it's not like you weren't a big player. It's not like you didn't have a huge community and stamped on Ross.
Yep. Oh boy. Time to play a sad song on the world's smallest
And talked about it for like 3 weeks about how much you hate it.
violin for the Stop Killing Games movement, all because Big Bad Pirate Software took it all down by himself. Like, it's crazy. No one's saying that. Like, there is no one out there that is saying it is entirely Pirate Software's fault that Stop Killing Games hasn't been more successful in its endeavors. But there's irrefutable evidence that you had a detrimental effect, a majorly damaging effect on Stop Killing Games because of your misinformation that you spread about it in 2 videos and across all your streams, and not once have you bothered to correct that record.
So I think that's there's 2 parts of that. The first one is that Pirate Software has, I think, an inordinarily like interacted audience. Like people, he gets like way more engagement than I think is ordinary. So, sorry, are those not fucking impacts? So 1, his audience would probably interact with it way more. 2, he literally, like, as fucking Ross Scott, I keep call him Ross Scott, but I don't think that's his name. As Ross said, one like really big creator was going to make a video about it until Pirate Software like talked to him and told him not to. Or sorry, that's wrong. And Pirate Software video influenced them not to.
And he has said that it hasn't been refuted in 10 months. That is fish paste. That is turbo horseradish. Go to your own comment section on your videos to see everyone refuting you, as well as the innumerable other gamers and voices out there that have taken down those talking points and debunked a lot of them and proven that you just didn't understand it. And that is the big problem. No one hates Pirate Software because he doesn't agree with Stop Killing Games. The reason so many people are angry at him, myself included here, you can disagree with the movement all you want. If you don't like the initiative, I'm not your fucking dad. You make your own choices there. But the reason so many people, myself included, do not like how Pirate Software is handling all this is he is outright refusing to just admit any level of fault, that he was wrong about anything. And that couldn't be more clear from
okay, the only thing I disagree with there is, like, why would he admit that when he's wrong? Because when he thinks he's correct. Like, he doesn't think that the evidence is irrefutable. Or he does, and he's just lying and does think that he's wrong, so there's that too, I guess.
clips as well as his tweets that he's made. It's actually his tweets that really sent me off the fucking rails here, off my gourd. Let's start with this little nugget here that he deleted from last night. So he tweeted directly
so he has the deleted tweet. Alright, I kept a Chud Logic stream that's now unlisted open specifically for this. Let's see how much Charlie goes over it.
At Ross, the guy behind Stop Killing Games, talking about how he made those videos 10 months ago, and since then, his community has been nothing but hateful. A scourge. A fucking tyrannid threat that he must destroy.
Tyrannids?
Your community is fucking rabid, and it's shit to deal with for anyone on the other side of the argument. Why do you think I haven't talked about this shit in 10 months? Why do you think we auto-mute anyone bringing it up in chat? Because it's been rage bait and shit-flinging the entire time. And just goes on about, like, how he is the victim of Ross's...
Oh, okay. Let's go back and read that. I put out 2 videos disagreeing with your initiative 10 months ago and haven't talked about it since. I don't think that's true, actually. He's probably brought it up once or twice. Now your initiative has failed. It hasn't failed yet. And you're blaming me for 33 minutes of an hour-long video covering it. No. He's for multiple streams and generally disregarding the initiative and misrepresenting it and mal-influencing other creators. Since you're so set on cutting up my response... Oh, your community is out and for shitting up our streams and socials with hate messages, threats, and snide comments. Well, and how do they know that that's his community? It's not as if Pirate Software hasn't been in, like what, like half a dozen insane dramas just over, like, the last year? Like, there's probably, like, a shitload of people who are coming into his chat shitting it up. And that have nothing to do with Ross. Because you're so set on cutting up my responses into pieces to try to make me seem unhinged, I'm going to drop my video here to show actual context. He deleted the thing, so whatever. There's a massive pinned FAQ on the first video you can read through to see my reasoning, which we will go through. Probably not the entire video, because they're both like 2 hours long. Or combined, they're 2 hours long. To quote back at you, if you're going to hate me, at least hate me for what I'm actually saying. I think he has. The only engagement I've seen that is level-headed has been from Louis Rossman. His video breaks down what I disliked and tried to meet in the middle with a conversation that made sense. Maybe we should watch that, but I don't think it's relevant. I think he's also just name-dropping again. As such, I engaged with him on that video as screenshotted below. I'm fine talking to people that are level-headed about this and can have a conversation. But to be real, dude, every time you've been involved, your orbiters turn shit toxic instantly, and it sets me off. Dude, Ross, like, reached out first. I don't think he's gonna mention it, but Ross reached out first to have, like, a cordial conversation. And try to, like, explain to him what Ross thinks Pirate Software is wrong, but Pirate Software can't be wrong, so he doesn't even consider the conversation. I'm fine talking to people. Oh, for that. Your community is fucking rabid and shit to deal with for anyone on the other side of the argument. Why do you think I haven't talked to anybody about this shit in 10 months? Why do you think we auto-mute anybody bringing it up in chat? Because it's rage bait and shit flinging the entire time. Your own Reddit people have openly talked... Your own Reddit had people openly talking about causing drama in our community to try to stir up more support. Yes. Yes. This is all entirely clout. The entire point of the internet is clout garnering. Clout gathering. So you should talk to him to gather clout from his community as well. Or you're not taking your Twitch career seriously. And you're letting your reputation... down, and I mean, honestly, it's like a sizable audience of like diehard fans, so nothing realistic is probably going to happen to his income, but like, you should. I feel like that's letting your community down by not engaging with Ross. I still disagree with your movement for all the reasons I stated. That's unlikely to change at this point. I'm more than fine with that. Stay frosty. Frosty in my mind kind of means like stay quiet. Because that's what military people say. It's like, keep it frosty. So, not sure what that's supposed to mean.
The entire time. And just goes on about, like, how he is the victim of Ross's toxic, terrible community. Which is hilariously hypocritical coming from Pirate Software, when in his videos and his streams, he makes it very clear and is very rude about how much he dislikes not only Ross, but the movement. And it's not like he's being very professional and polite about it, you know, buttoned up. Listen to it.
So this was my first encounter of him.
Oh shit, now this is actually really dumb. It's used car salesman garbage. This is shit. It's shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm gonna actively tell people not to.
Yeah, dude, you were the first to fling shit, and now you're mad that it's coming back at you. Like, why would you say that? Like, just in like a creator-to-creator sort of sense, why would you be like, I'm going to tell people to actively not support you?
That is awful. That is a horrible goddamn direction. That's awful. Dude.
By the way, for as much shit flinging as Ross did and everybody else is doing, there have been very few people who have been like, I am telling them I'm telling my audience to actively do not support this initiative, do not support this guy. Which I think can be construed to like, do not donate to Ross, don't watch his videos, set him on your block list. Shit like that. I don't think that's too out there. It might be a little bit for the Patreon thing, but for like, don't watch his videos, don't support his initiative, don't like do anything. Yeah, don't support him. That can be taken pretty far, I think.
No, eat my entire ass. The level of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's an incredibly stupid ass move. I think this is
Dude, this is crazy how much like shitting on the thing he's doing and then complaining that he's getting shit on as well. That's I hate this.
Yes. This is complete garbage. All of this can eat shit then. I dropped the mask entirely. I have no qualms about that. They can eat my entire ass. The whole thing. That sounds stupid as shit.
Yeah, I'm sure it's Ross and his community that are actually the assholes here. Brother, come on, you can't possibly be calling the wambulance with a side of french fries here about people being mean to you when you are literally the one that's...
I feel like I gotta start watching Charlie more. This is actually not that bad. This is not nearly as bad as like all the... Like, I just thought he kind of talked cringy, but this isn't that bad. Maybe he advanced from living on a farm.
Started the shit flinging and name calling. And by the way, Ross never even addressed this for 10 months because he didn't want to dilute the initiative into just having it be boiled down to drama between creators, which I think was actually very big of him. The only reason he's talking about it now is because it's at the end of its life and so many people still don't understand it because of someone like Pirate Software misrepresenting it.
Yeah, totally.
So he's finally setting the record straight there. Anyway, he did delete that tweet, but just a little while ago he made a new tweet, a very long tweet, as well as a series of tweets under it in regards to this whole thing. And in all these words, all this mumbo jumbo, not once does he say he was wrong about anything. In fact, he just continues to double down, even proudly stating he is doubling down. Wow, how incredibly normal, doubling down on things you are provably, blatantly wrong about.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. It is definitely kind of weird watching this from somebody who like isn't super aware of the entire situation, of all the stuff behind it, because this is like, in my mind, like, I don't know, you can make fun of Pirate Software, you can like disagree with him, whatever. You like, if you've been watching all of his stuff, I feel like this is completely par for the course.
We don't need to hit the Jumbotron for the replay on yesterday's video going over so many of the things that he was incorrect about in regards to the initiative, but the point is, that is an issue that I really thought that he would address. Be like, hey, yeah, I did get this part wrong. You're right, guys. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to misrepresent it. I still don't fully agree with it, but I do recognize that I had some errors here in my coverage. That's what I was expecting. That is not what we got. And it...
Yeah, I honestly still can't believe that he hasn't just admitted to that. After everything that I've said, it does feel like so clear. It feels like such an easy W for him to just be like, I misunderstood it. I still disagree with it, but I misunderstood it. But he can't even admit that. But whenever... Like the thing in my mind is that it's like an argument between whether he wants an easy win or if he just never wants to be wrong. But I feel like there's no advantage for him keeping his current position.
Prompted me to reach out directly to him, to talk to him, to see, like, why isn't he acknowledging that? Is there a reason? Like, what is going on there? So I did. He made it very clear he was not very happy with my coverage of Stop Killing Games, which is fine. I think that's totally fine. I'm not going to leak DMs or really go in depth on our private conversation, but the point of me reaching out to him was to talk about his refusal to acknowledge that he did, maybe unintentionally, misrepresent Stop Killing Games, and it led to a just shy of 2 hours, like, circular argument that ultimately got us nowhere. He was more focused on his qualms with Stop Killing Games and really liked to challenge me to prove him wrong about some of his hang-ups with it. And when I would mention, like, the behavior aspect, like, hey, you did misrepresent it, and I'd give him a timestamp, he'd then instead say how I'm wrong for thinking that he misrepresented it. We got nowhere. So I want to just publicly say this again. There are plenty of things you can disagree with when it comes to the Stop Killing Games initiative. I'll put links to it if you want to learn more about it, and you can form your own opinions on it if you want to support it. If you don't like it, that's fine. That's super normal. And I did.
Yeah, honestly, that's like really good. I think it's good. Like, even though I do approve of it, I actually do think generally, like, one of the things that I guess I respect more is people who are like, yeah, I want to form my own opinions about it. Here's the tools to do it. Or I want to let you form your own opinions about it. Here's the tools to do it. Versus, here, take my opinion, something like that, right? Right, this game is like really confusing. Is there a guy over there? No. And so that's like a lot nicer, I think, than being like, here's my opinion, it's yours now.
Didn't reach out to try and champion that Pirate Software should become, you know, a huge ambassador of Stop Killing Games, you know, out there on the fucking front lines fighting for it. It had nothing to do with that. It was simply about the misunderstanding that he showcased, maybe unintentionally, and the misrepresentation of it that he broadcast, again, maybe unintentionally, which has in turn, over the course of 10 months, misled people on what the fuck Stop Killing Games even is in the first place.
Yeah,
which
totally.
I found to be a problem because he's never even acknowledged that as something that has happened. And because he refuses to acknowledge that, and anyone that even, like, tiptoes around that subject, he kind of treats as though they're fucking idiots, like me, for thinking that he's misrepresented something. Now, he did just post a tweet where he said he talked to me and Josh Strife Hayes, and in that tweet, this will prove how
so he doesn't care
useless
that he got
the
name
conversation
dropped.
was,
Okay.
unfortunately. There's not a single peep about misrepresenting what Stop Killing Games was about. It's more so about how the public just doesn't understand game development, and it kind of reads to me like we're all just too stupid to understand it from his side of
Okay. Did we basically... I think we already kind of read this.
things. Our conversation basically amounted to toilet paper, unfortunately. Again, I was focused on, you have done this, maybe unintentionally, you should at least say that you have, or like, you know, are you aware that you did this? And then it became more of like, nope, I didn't. You're wrong. And then he uses our conversation at the start of this for something that was not even the focus. I was not there to try and convince him to be part of Stop Killing Games. I don't think we made any ground on, like, his perspective versus mine on Stop Killing Games. He has some qualms about how difficult it would be in certain cases. I agree with that, for sure. I still think overall Stop...
Totally. That's one of the things I said in my last stream is, like, for some games, I don't know how feasible it would be. Some games it would be insanely easy. And I think one of the stipulations is that, like, a lot of games that have already been made won't be subject to this unless they have, like, I think, like, 10 years or more, like, intended support. I think, yeah, and I think there are criticisms, but stuff that could also get sorted out later. Like, what about, like, an Overwatch situation versus Overwatch 2, where the game is essentially preserved? Or, like, a game... Like, I think one of Pirate Software's, like, only good points is, like, what about different patch notes? So, like, that stuff can get sorted out later. It kind of do need, like, just basic organization here.
Stop Killing Games is a net positive for the gaming industry where something desperately needs to change with a lot of these awful practices. But for the 10 millionth time in the last 2.5 hours, it was just about him having this awareness that his coverage did mislead people, and that he, maybe not maliciously or anything, misunderstood or misrepresented Stop Killing Games in numerous instances. And the way that he talked about Ross was unacceptable. That
Absolutely.
at least made it into the tweet there about the way he talked about Ross being like a fucking used car salesman type deal, and like calling everything about it ass. He at least recognized that that was too harsh, so he gave a quick I'm sorry for that, which is good.
Did he? Oh, wait, did he do that, like, in your conversation? So he didn't even tell Ross that. Okay, yeah, that doesn't mean anything to me.
I do appreciate that, and I'm sure Ross will appreciate that as well, I imagine. But I still wanted to make this video after the conversation because I just really do not understand, I truly cannot wrap my head around why he fights tooth and nail coming for throats for anyone that tries to mention that there was misrepresentation in his coverage of the Stop Killing Games initiative. He is so hell-bent on proving he's right and everyone else is wrong that's saying these things. I just don't get it. He's just treating it like he's got the mega mind, once-in-a-generation galaxy brain that no one can possibly understand. All us plebeians are beneath him, and we're lucky that he even graces us with streams, and we're stupid for thinking that he did anything wrong here in regards to his coverage of Stop Killing Games and what it's actually about. It's just so odd to me. Because if he would
It's
just
super fucking
come out and be
weird.
like, yeah, you know what? Looking back on it, really reflecting, hearing what you guys are saying, I can see why this was so misleading for so many people. I didn't mean for it to be, and yeah, maybe I misunderstood some of these things. this would not have been nearly as
It
big
is
of a
funny
deal
that
as it
that's
has
literally
turned
all
into.
he has to say.
And I went back and looked at some of his previous dramas, I suppose, and that is a common thread with Pirate
Oh,
Software.
yeah, okay.
Like in World of Warcraft, he made a mistake, but he completely refused to acknowledge the mistake, and it made it a much bigger snowball into an avalanche for him,
Yeah.
which led to a ton of other problems. He just has this
Like,
inability to, like,
That's the thing. Yeah, he does have like a disability, an inability to recognize that, and I think like it has caused him like an insane amount of problems. Like he is almost like completely shut out of almost any MMO guild now thanks to what he's done. And that like totally sucks for him. And like, you know, he makes decent content, I think, whenever he's not being a complete dickhead about this. I just don't understand why he wouldn't like even for the sake of his career. It just feels so nonsensical, but I think he has like a literal like I don't want to say disability because that sounds like too much, but he has like some kind of mental issue where he can't admit wrongdoing. And sometimes that comes off as like the Chad maneuver, right? Where instead of being like, oh, yep, I was wrong, you're like, fuck you, I'm not saying sorry. Like in the furry tech stuff, he's just like, yeah, whatever, you suck, bye. Essentially, right? So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's reasonable. But for something like this and the World of Warcraft thing, where it's actually affecting other like large communities, it's like totally fucked up.
Except that he can make mistakes. Like he does things wrong sometimes. And he needs to recognize that it's okay to be like, yeah, I did do that wrong. You're right. I was incorrect in this. And it would save so much of a headache. But he just comes across as a narcissist. He really does, unfortunately. Like, I'm not an armchair Reddit psychologist here going to diagnose him as a narcissist or anything, but like, that's what it comes across as. He just refuses to admit that he ever does anything incorrectly. It admits no faults of his own, ever. Except, I suppose, to Ross here, which maybe this is the beginning of a big character development for Pirate Software. He did apologize to Ross for how he treated him and what he said about him. I think that's
where? I don't remember him doing that ever at all.
Great. Would love to see that same kind of energy for understanding where people like myself are coming from with your coverage of Stop Killing Games and why people feel the way they do about what's happened since with your responses. But anyway, I won't keep yapping about it. That's really about it. So yeah.
Yep. So that's Charlie's video.
Building a 5-star PC.
No. Oh, sorry. That was probably unwatchable. I just realized
easy.
that I had that in full screen the whole time. Well, fuck. Yeah, I mean, I think that it covered a lot of stuff that we already knew since I've been following this so much. You could probably just like Alt-Tab and wait for the enemies to come to me because they're nowhere to be found. Okay, so I think that might be it. Here's a 15-minute video. Here's the video from Pirate Software. Let's watch it.
My name is Jason Thor Hall, also known as Pirate Software Online. I've been in the gaming industry for about 20 years. I used to work at Blizzard Entertainment, then Amazon Game Studios, and now I own my own studio, Pirate Software.
Wait, Amazon Game... He worked for Amazon Game Studios? I don't remember him bringing that up. Ever. Wait, really? Also, isn't it funny that he's worked for, like, two of the most, like... He portrays himself as a great, like, guy, but then he's worked for what are widely considered to be two of, like, the most, not the absolute most by any means. But, like... Well, actually, I guess Activision Blizzard is considered the most. Amazon's probably, like, 5th or 6th on the list, but some of the most, like, money-grubbing evil companies. That's funky.
By the same name, which is an indie studio, and I've been here for about 8 years now. I also run a massive community. We've got about 180,000 people in Discord, and most of what I do is try to teach other people how to make games, teach them that they can make games, show them the tools to do so, and try to do everything without any paywalls or bullshit.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I would not have known about Godot if I had not watched Thor. I would not have been even, like, anywhere near the level I am at now without watching Thor. I think he has done a lot of good game dev stuff. That's why it's so crazy to see him act this way.
Really important to me that we keep making games and that the next generation has the tools
He
to
helped
do
me
so
so much,
their
and now
medium
he's
doesn't
betrayed
die out.
me.
And it never will. And That's the whole intention of all of this. So with that in mind, that community brought me this and tried to get me to sign it. And I don't want to.
Wait,
Number
they didn't...
one.
What? Why would they get you to sign it? You don't live in the EU. Unless he does? Does he live in, like, fucking Britain, or... It would have to be Germany. Britain wouldn't do that, yeah. No, they didn't try to get you to sign it. They wanted you to promote it. Dude, he's even fucking misrepresenting it here in the video where he's claiming to be honest, and you can watch it and to get all of his opinions.
And I can't.
Just
because I don't
re-record
live in
the line,
Europe. But number
dickhead.
two, I wouldn't sign it even if I could.
Oh, God.
I'm going to kind of go through this and try to explain the reasoning as to why that would be the case, without all of the internet hate machine that's grown up around it. So let's go into how this works and why this is an issue today. First things first, what is an initiative? So an initiative is actually not law. It is something that you put together so you can put it up in front of representatives and they can start the conversation. The reason why I have a problem with Stop Killing Games is specifically it starts the wrong conversation. If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience.
No? No? Who said that? Wait, who said that? What the fuck?
And then taking away support in the future, this ain't it. And the reason why is specifically on this initiative.
No, wait.
Under its own
They're allowed to take away support. They just want to have like a it doesn't even have to be single player. They just want a mode consideration for end of life. Oh, I gotta get this guy. I gotta get this guy. Fuck. There.
own description. It says, this initiative calls to require publishers that sell or license video games to consumers in the European Union or related features and assets sold for video games they operate to leave said video games in a functional playable state. Specifically, the initiative seeks to prevent the remote disabling of video games by the publishers before providing reasonable means to continue functioning of said video games without the involvement from the side of the publisher.
Yeah.
This isn't always possible in all video games, and it doesn't call out the specific practice that this is supposedly trying to defeat.
It doesn't call out, like, selling a game and then disabling access to it if it's single player or multiplayer? I mean, that's it. That's the specific practice it's trying to stop, is disabling access to a good that you purchased.
It is incredibly vague and will damage all live service games. How would you keep League of Legends?
Why would it damage all live service games? What? How would it do that? I don't get that. That's like such an insane thing. I mean, he'll explain it, I guess.
In a functional playable state.
How would you maintain League of Legends in a functional playable state if it were to go offline? Easy. You set up extremely basic peer-to-peer stuff, or you just give the XE to people. That would be super easy to actually
re-architect the entire game. The game is what is called client server. So in client server models, there's a server and there's a client, and all of the math, all of the game, everything happens on the server. The client just displays it.
Okay,
and
so give people the client. That'd be super easy then.
Reason we want to do it that way is so that you can't teleport around and do a billion damage. You don't trust the client. You trust the server. The client just displays what it's told, right?
That's not exactly true. That's not really that true. So, Jesus. Oh, God. Okay. There's a lot of stuff that actually is done on the client. There's a lot of stuff that is done client side. Not everything is simply portrayed to the client or clientele. There's a lot of stuff that you do that programming is somewhat required for to that information then gets sent to the client. I'm not entirely certain what League of Legends does for that, but I know for like Genshin Impact, all the textures, all the world, all the damage calculations, all that is done on the client. And then what gets stored, well, I think like a lot of the formulas are actually client side, or sorry, not client, provider side, parent side, while the client is actually like sending the numbers for those formulas. And for League of Legends, I imagine that most... Actually, wait, isn't League of Legends peer-to-peer anyway? The client thing is mostly for, like, skin purchases or whatever? Because, like, you can inject code, but it'll detect if you injected code. It wouldn't even be able to do that, or you wouldn't even want to do that if it was entirely, like, not client-side, right? So, I don't know, maybe I'd have to read more into League of Legends, but it sounds like Thor... I think Thor does, too. Get to watch a League of Legends documentary to extend this live stream by another 3 hours.
So if we wanted to re-architect this, we'd have to take all of that server logic, push it back out into the client, and somehow make that playable in a multiplayer-only video game. That doesn't make sense to me. So this isn't going to work.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to you because it's fucking wrong. You don't have to do that. You could even maintain a server client. You could just provide the information to do so to the public. It's not... What the fuck? That is like a complete misrepresentation. This is another reason why it sucks so bad that he won't talk to anybody, because he is so fucking wrong in this situation. That there's so many fucking simple answers to so much of his stuff, and he just refuses to listen to them. And maybe that's the issue, is that not like another computer scientist has actually talked to Thor about this, and he needs somebody who can understand like video game stuff to tell him. But I don't know, did Louis Rossman talk to him about it? Maybe we do need to watch that video.
For all games, why is it calling out all games? And it's really easy to say like, oh, you know, that'll get worked out down the line. But we're dealing with government here. If we're going to be putting up these types of ideas specifically in front of government, we need to be calling out the right issues.
I don't think that's true. I think for the government in general, you want to kind of call out vaguer issues, stuff that's easier to get wins on. Ooh, they did that, actually. The reason you don't typically want to be specific is because then it covers less edge cases, or it's less able to. This loser, yeah. I'm watching his actual video where he's explaining his issue with it, and it sucks ass so far. And I'm only 3 minutes in, but he had like a misrepresentation about League of Legends already. Going the right way?
Especially if you don't have precedent set. Because now you're going to be setting precedent on something that doesn't make any sense with people that may not understand the nuance of our industry.
So there's a thing later where he like... It was in the Harmful Opinions video, so it might not be in this video. But... he fucking understands that the government will typically bring in experts to explain this to them. That's its own politicized thing. I remember, like, in America with, what was it called? It's like the internet thing? I forget the name of it, but it was, oh, man. It was something I think Obama put in place and then Trump got rid of. Because, like, the expert they asked was, like, totally lying about it. It was some guy who was, like, the former head of Verizon. It was super into, like, corporatist gains. And it fucked up some internet, like, independent stuff.
In the name of saving games. I can't agree with that. So let's go into
why. So it goes both ways. That would be a much better criticism to say, is that, like... the experts that the government would get would be like heavily influenced, which is true. You would have to get both sides, which would be harder to do. But he doesn't point to that. God, I feel like I have to make criticisms for stuff that I like because everybody who does criticize it is so fucking wrong about it.
What is the specific cases they've called out that are egregious? And they have one. It's The Crew. So, action on The Crew. The video game The Crew, published by Ubisoft, was recently destroyed for all players and had a player base of at least 12 million people. Due to the game's size and France's strong consumer protection laws, this represents one of the best opportunities to hold a publisher accountable for this action. If we're successful in charges being pressed against Ubisoft, this can have a ripple effect on the video games industry to prevent publishers from destroying more games. First off, I don't like the idea in this that it has a player base of 12 million people. That is not how long-running games work. There is a large number of people that buy the game, and
so this fucking blows ass. The Crew lasted for, I think, like, how long did The Crew last? Let me look this up before I spread misinformation. Me spreading misinformation. Let's go. The Crew release date. Oh, I just typed in the release date. So The Crew released in December 2014. The Crew death date. When did The Crew shut down? In December 2023. So it lasted 9 years. Okay. Never mind. I thought it was a few months. Cool, I checked myself.
And that player base slowly dwindles off until nobody is playing it anymore. If there's any costs associated with keeping the game online, which this was an online video game, then eventually it costs more to keep it online than it does to keep running it, right? So the cost outweighs the amount of income for it. There are bad...
Due to like how servers work, actually, I don't think that's too much of the case. Although, who knows? Ubisoft is French, so they might have like a exorbitant server costs, and they have to keep like one open in each country or whatever, right? But you can just allocate server space that you're using for other services to your game. So them shutting down every single server doesn't really make sense. You could just have like one server open in France to fucking play the game. It like... There are, yeah, sure, you get a little bit of electrical bill. I'm sure like $10 a month in profit versus $5 a month in cost would probably be like, you know, not crazy.
Business practices that can occur in there. There are companies that will sell a online-only game as a single-player experience and kind of just put it into the TOS and hide it. But not all companies do that. When they do, we should be calling out that specific company.
I missed what he said. Let me go back a few seconds.
Line, which this was an online video game, then eventually it costs more to keep it online than it does to keep running it, right? So the cost outweighs the amount of income for it. There are bad business practices that can occur in there. There are companies that will sell a online-only game as a single-player experience and kind of just put it into the TOS and hide it. But not all companies do that.
Wait, what?
When they do,
Put what into the TOS? I don't understand. Wait, I actually don't understand. Put what into the TOS?
There are companies that will sell a online-only game as a single-player experience and kind of just put it into the TOS and hide it. But not...
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, so they'll put in that it's like online only, but it's actually single player. Wait, that's so fucking old. That's fucking like 2014 Xbox shit. Xbox One shit. That's not at all what is getting talked about. Why the fuck is he even bringing this up?
Not all companies do that. When they do, we should be calling out that specific company, not all companies. So let's take a look at this and find out more about the Crew itself. And if we pull up their Wikipedia, we can see that the Crew was actually created in 2014, which, much to the hatred of all of us oldies on the internet, was 10 years ago. Oh. So this was an online-only racing video game developed by Ubisoft Ivory Tower and Ubisoft Reflections and published by Ubisoft. So all Ubisoft, right? With that in mind, it said it was a scaled-down recreation of the contiguous United States and included both role-playing and large-scale multiplayer elements. So it had a massive multiplayer component to it. It is an online-only service-based game. And they shut it down 10 years later. On March 31st, 2024, Ubisoft shut down the game's servers, rendering the game unplayable.
Did you just say Ubisoft? What the fuck?
To it. It is an online-only service-based game, and they shut it down 10 years later. On March 31st, 2024, Ubisoft shut down the game's servers, rendering the game unplayable,
weirdly.
which is normal for live service games. The only thing that I can see in here
yes, they want to change. They want to change the norm. They want to change the norm.
Could be a problem is if they posted as not an online-only experience. But everything that I found online shows that the game was always marketed as online-only. If you're going to be buying an online-only game, that means it can only run when it's online. And if the servers need to shut down in the future, far in the future, it makes sense to me for the access to that game to be cut, if it's online only. If it's a single-player experience that has online-only functionality specifically just to shut down the game in the future, and the online-only doesn't actually add any gameplay functionality, I'd agree with you. That's a shitty business practice.
We're not living in that fucking hell world that he's describing. That's not... What the fuck? Dude, that's fucking insane. What is he fucking talking about? What game has even had that, where it's been a single player only experience, but it has been shut down from online? What, like Babylon's Fall? No, Babylon's Fall is still going. What the fuck is he talking? What is bruh yapping about? Yeah.
Practice. But that's really rare. And in the specific cases where it does happen, we should call out that, not just all
You
games
have a
and not all
single
live service
specific
games.
case where that's happened.
There's more context to this, too. The Crew itself came out in 2014, but it actually had a sequel that came out in 2018. And then it had another sequel that came out in 2023. And if we go to the Crew's SteamDB, which again is not going to be all of the player base for this, it's only going to show the ones who were playing it through Steam. It was on multiple platforms. And we look at the max here, it did start out with a sizable amount of community, and then it degraded. And it had a major drop-off in 2018, which is the same year that it launched a sequel. This is normal. When a sequel comes out, a lot of the player base, if the sequel doesn't suck, will move over to it.
Oh,
And
okay,
then-
so it did kind of get like an Overwatch 1v2 situation, where it's like, oh, there is like an acceptable sequel that's similar enough that, the fuck, dude. This game is way too chaotic. So it did have like an acceptable sequel of similar quality. Okay.
the servers effectively die. You can't run a live service game on this few players. You can't. Most of the time, especially not if there's anything else that goes into it. And if we go into that anything else, and we can see that there was license problems. So on December 14th, 2023, Ubisoft delisted The Crew and its expansions from digital platforms, suspended sales of microtransactions, and announced that the game's servers would shut down on March 31st. So they gave
I'm
them
getting
3 months.
absolutely fucked.
Usually I would say, hey, 6 months is probably a better deal, but if they're going to do 3 months, they're going to do 3 months. The only thing that I'd be interested outside of that is if there was a contractual obligation to do more than 3 months and they didn't follow it, if it was in the terms of service or not. Citing upcoming server infrastructure and licensing constraints. What were those licensing constraints? Well, it turns out that all of the cars in the game were licensed from the car companies, and a 10-year running game likely means that they had license to them for 10 years, and that
Yeah.
means that it would likely...
Yeah, I don't think anybody has actually said that The Crew is a perfect example. It's definitely like, it was just the best thing at the time to get into, but yeah, I agree. The Crew fucking sucked as an example of the next game to go down, and we need to protect games.
reopen.
I don't
for
think there was a better
negotiation.
example,
Now, I
though,
understand that's
honestly.
speculation, but I've seen this type of a deal many times in the industry and while I've been working in it. So it's not unlikely. If you're going to have to renegotiate on a game that has so few players and is not turning a profit anymore, you're probably just going to forego the renegotiation. And if those servers are aging, you're not going to want to recreate that infrastructure. And there are some people that'll say, well, just make it all single player. Well, I've explained that that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're
No,
making
it
all
totally
single
does.
player,
He's
you have
totally
to carve
wrong.
all-
He is totally wrong about, like, online games being unable to be made single player. Because, you know what? They're typically made single player first before they're made online.
all of that, and it's developer time and money. When you already have sequels out and the game has basically no
Online
players
stuff is
left
usually
anyway, it makes
tested
more sense to
LAN-wise.
just move on.
That's
I don't
so
find that
crazy
be
to
a
me.
problem from the
Like, he should
developer
know this. He
perspective,
worked
and I
at
understand that
Blizzard.
people find that to be a
Blizzard ran
problem
on a
from the player
LAN
perspective.
inside the
These
office
are two different ideologies,
for World of
and
Warcraft.
That's okay to have
Before
two
it
different
ran
ideologies. I just
on
won't agree
fucking,
with that because I understand
giant
the burden that puts
global
if
servers.
we raise that problem in the way that we are right now. If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their
I need to
live
go.
service
I'm
game
about to die.
indefinitely or not run one at all, then no one's going to run them, and we're going to miss out on adventures like Final Fantasy XIV. And
Oh
even
no! Oh boo hoo! We some MMO dies from Japan where it's the fucking the fucking legislation wouldn't even like take place. I think you like whenever this is a concern, you're looking more so at like something like Phantasy Star, where I think Phantasy Star was taken offline for like a good like 10 years. He's, I'm 90% sure, paid off or has a sizable investment into Blizzard thanks to his dad. I don't doubt that. It hasn't been in any of the videos that I've covered yet, but he actually does work as like a co-director or like a contractor on a studio that is making a live service game. So that's what I was wrong about, is because I think last stream I was like, oh, he's not actually on a live service game. He is, just not his own company. He's like a co-director or like assistant or something.
I don't play anymore.
Fuck
League
off.
of Legends or any other live service game. Any of them. You're talking everything, like even phone games, as funny as that is. A lot of people don't realize that phone games require online-only activity. What about things like Pokemon Go? What about stuff like Monster Hunter Now? What about any of these? We'd never get any of them. And that's why I think this needs to not be vague. It needs to be specific.
Wait, why
about
wouldn't we get Monster Hunter? Is Monster Hunter like an online-only single-player game? I didn't think it was. Maybe the newest one is, but I think that's right.
The business practice it's trying to defeat, which is specifically
That too, you had a reason to
companies
try
that
and
are
fight
doing
this. It's
this
scummy.
under
It's
the guise of
super
it being a
scummy.
single-player game, but adding online-only
fucking
functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements. That's the problem. So now we're going to go to Ross, otherwise known as Accursed Farms, the creator of this initiative, and one of the ones that's pushing it the most online. I'm going to let him say exactly why he thinks that this will go through very easily and why it is important, and then I'm going to tell you why I don't agree with it.
Comes law in the EU? Yeah, it might be. Now, it's not a guarantee, but I think if we get the signatures, this passes. Why do I say that? Well, it's a few factors. Politicians like easy wins, and this doesn't require them to do much at all. And unless it involves gambling or protecting children, politicians generally don't care about video games. So this
True.
isn't of big consequence to them or most of their constituency.
I'm going to stop it there for a moment. The assertion that politicians just like easy wins, so this legislation will go through, but the politicians don't care about a multi-billion-dollar global industry and that it doesn't matter to their constituencies is incredibly absurd to me.
Wait, why? What are you talking about? Dude, he's so fucking stupid. He's actually, like, brainless. Dude, he's gonna get so mad at me if he watches me and hears me say that, but he actually is. 'Cause guess what? Most constituencies, most of the people who vote are over the age of 30. Young people don't vote. It is extremely uncommon for younger people to vote. Hence, their constituencies of 90% of politicians, probably 99, do not care about video games because the target demographic is like 12 to 35, I think, is the largest gaming demographic. It's so fucking insane that he would say that. And also, of course, they like easy wins. Dude, and this thing would allow, like, younger people to get more involved in voting as well. I think he's, like, absolutely deranged for saying this.
I don't think this is the right direction at all for a movement like this. I think it's incredibly damaging and it makes our entire industry look bad, both on the player side and the developer side. If we're going to be putting forward anything that may eventually turn into legislation, it should be passing because it's the right thing to do for consumers and developers and that there's some kind of a middle ground, not just because it's an easy win.
This can
in
be a
politics.
middle ground. This absolutely can be a middle ground. What if the middle ground is, okay, well, if we're not having live service anymore, we're not getting subscriptions, but we can't host this anymore, pay like $20 and you get like the single player experience. That sounds great.
Politicians don't care. This sets us off on a completely wrong foot.
Gen Z is like the first young voter group to be active at the polls. Is it? Okay. But yeah, historically, I guess that's what I said is true, but maybe not anymore. Okay, that's cool.
New law is already unclear on a lot of this practice anyway.
And that's dangerous. If we're going to
I
be
hate that
setting
he
a
can just
precedent,
set
which
me
could
on
change the
fire
way
and
the
kill
law
me.
works all
What
the way
the
down
fuck?
the road, then we need to be sending the right message, which this is sending a vague message that doesn't cover the actual problem. So this is not a win
hate
to
this
me.
boss.
This is a huge risk.
And we would be making it easy for them to settle it. It falls in line with other consumer practices. You know how when you buy something, you're generally allowed to keep it?
In the case
Yeah.
of live service games, in the terms of service for those, you are not buying the game. You're buying
Yes, and it sucks. It sucks that you are not buying a live service game. Is it a good? Maybe. It's more like a sampler, I guess. But like you can spend so much more money on a live service game and not own it versus you know, like a $60 Halo.
a license to the game. And that's the part that's really different here. If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms. But if we're under this weird idea that we need to get rid of all
So part of the reason why I like the idea of legislation around this is because young people play these games and like need to be protected. People who are not of voting age, people who can't even buy other games, right? Like, a lot of people who are going to be most affected by this are going to be the people who are like 10, 11, 12, and they play a game because they play like a free-to-play live service game because they can't afford it. And they becomes like a essential part of their childhood or something. That's like a big part of it. That's not like exclusively it, but I think that's pretty big. I have a ton of those. Whenever I was a kid, I played the shit
out of a dog shit MMO called like D&D Eberron Unlimited or something like that. And I played like a shitload of WildStar. And I played, those were the main two. So yeah, it'd be cool if those were preserved in some way. I would love to like revisit WildStar, and I did. I got to like the end of it.
All live service games, or damage that practice in any way to keep in line with consumer policies, it is in line with consumer policies. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be there in the first place. So this doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. You're not buying the game, you're buying a license to the game. In the
you're not buying anything usually. They're free. You just have to agree to their terms of service.
niche cases where a studio is trying to sell a game as if you are buying it or purchasing it or using that language specifically and they give you a live service game instead, I agree that should change. That language should change. You are not purchasing the game. You are not buying the game. You are paying to have a license to a live service experience. I get that. Is that what this is doing, though? The initiative is not trying to call that out specifically. It's trying to say that all games need to stay in a functional, playable state, which is not calling out the language that is being used to manipulate the player. Call that out specifically. Not this vague bullshit.
And finally,
It's
this
supposed
is a
to be
diversion from
vague.
really serious topics that politicians
Yeah, I mean, Ross is kind
would
of
prefer not to deal with.
That's really gross to me as well.
Nope, he cut out Ross explaining it. No, the point of it being vague is because they need, like, they kind of need every up they can get, and so it being a bit more vague helps people who, one, may not get exactly what they want out of it, but two, helps politicians, like, associate better with it, or like, negotiate better with the whole terms. It's so fucking dumb.
The idea that this is just a diversion from serious
Dumb
topics
man
and we
pretends
can
to
get
be
an easy
smart.
win in and we can just push it through and there won't be a lot of pushback on it and they're not going to have to think about it too hard. That's crazy dangerous, dude. If you're going to be setting
No.
precedent, if you're going to be putting forward something that you want to start a conversation to eventually become legislation, and
Thor is, like, legitimately acting like fucking, like, this is, like, the language that put the Nazis into power. He's so fucking insane. So I just have to break line of sight with him. I hate line of sight bosses, or any kind of line of sight attack.
these are the reasons for it. Not only can I not agree with the initiative, but I can't agree with you. And I think that the tactics that you're using here are really disgusting. So yes, I won't agree with that. And I won't agree with Ross. There's no way around that. I think this is gross. To sum it all up, no, I will not be supporting the initiative Stop Killing Games. You're not going to change my mind on it.
And you
because
will
I find this
actively
language to be
promote
incredibly
against it.
vague and damaging to the rest of our industry. I think that it would be bad for both developers and players down the line in the way that it is currently written. And I think that starting
that
a
sucked.
conversation that doesn't get to the core of the issue is both wasted time and leads to potentially bad outcomes. So if we want to talk about this, let's talk about the actual bad business practices. In the case that a studio is making a live service game and they sell it to you as a product, they say that you are purchasing the
longer
game
is this?
or you are buying the game, when in reality you're actually purchasing or buying a license to that game. I think that we should be fighting about that. That needs to go away.
Yeah, okay, that sucks too. That seems fine, actually. I mean, he's misrepresenting what it is. That's not what Stop Killing Games is, but I also agree that we should stop fighting, or that we should start fighting against licensing and be more about, like, purchasing games. Oh. Sorry. I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. Hold. Warhammer. Bolt gun. How long it is. Sure. I'm at the end of chapter 1. God I am not exactly enjoying my time with Bolt Gun. I definitely think Forgive Me Father was better. I think this is D tier. Not D tier, this is C tier. Forgive Me Father is B tier. This is a low C. Forgive Me Father is like a high C or a low B. I did get 2. I did get Forgive Me Father. But until there's a Tommy C stream, we can't.
Players should be well informed at the point of purchase that they are purchasing a license, not buying a game. And the reason
So that's really tough in like the digital era of mass sales. Mass sales is really what kills that more than anything. Because something like Steam, for example, I just did it during the summer sale, so it's a really good example, I think. You're buying like a dozen games at a time during a sale, or like a half dozen. So that can be really fucking tough. Oh. Can I go back? No. To establish the difference between like a license and like ownership. And I'm pretty sure most games are licensed just because that's like the default. Yeah, it's just the default now. Oh, fuck.
that we have those licenses in the case of client-server interactions like we had before, we're talking about client-server games, is so that they can ban you when you cheat at them. They revoke your license. That's why they revoke your license, to protect the gameplay of every other player that you're impacting when you cheat at these games.
No. He just explained this, and he's already, like, no, they also revoke licenses because sometimes it can be too expensive to maintain the game by itself.
That needs to exist, but it needs to be better informed to the player at time of purchase. So I agree on that. This doesn't bring that up, though. It just attacks all video games that have online-only components and says that they need to keep being able to be played indefinitely. That doesn't make any sense to me. Aside from that, a lot of people really like.
It doesn't make any sense because he's not accurately representing it.
So trying to kill off all live service games, as some people have said online, doesn't make any sense either. Live service games are a great way to get away from the real world. They are about
any game is a good way to get away from the real world. What the fuck did he mean by this?
Between players. Some people get married in them. Some people met their spouse in them and then got married in them. It's a really cool
thing. Is his
thing.
idea of like live service games exclusively World of Warcraft and League of Legends? Those aren't the only live service games. In fact, the biggest ones are actually single player experiences like Genshin. What the fuck is he talking about?
For a point in time,
this man knows nothing.
Social experience, and to destroy that just because you
knows
don't like
a lot,
them
but
is
he
very
knows
weird.
less than
I
he
don't
thinks
think
he
that makes a
does.
lot of sense to me. I also don't think it makes sense the way that Ross is posing this is why it's going to pass. I think that's incredibly inflammatory and could lead to a lot of damage to both what he's trying to stop and to games as a whole. To say that the government just doesn't care and this is an easy win and we're going to get it through is disingenuous. You're talking.
Do you think what is it? Senator Gordon Bloodfeast is fucking playing World of Warcraft right now? Do you think fucking Senator Dufresne from Massachusetts is fucking playing Genshin Impact and Nike right now? Like, what the fuck, dude?
Talking about a multi-billion-dollar global industry, to think that the government isn't going to be meticulously looking through this and looking for flaws and holes is absurd. So I don't think that's honest at all, and I find it disgusting.
Yes, people always look for holes through law.
Be angry about it. I'm not going to change my stance on that because I can't agree with this, both as a dev and a player. I see the danger involved, I see the vagueness in the language, and it doesn't make sense to me. If we want to fight for better conditions for players, then fight the actual problem.
What's the actual problem? Wait, what was the actual problem? That things are like licensed? No, no more tech tips, please. What an insane person. What an insane fucking game, dude. No wonder I never see people playing this past like chapter 1. I can see why. Okay. So, with that out of the way, we've got the videos out of the way. No more tech tips.
Let's read. Can I save here? Okay, sweet. I can save and exit. Let's read Pirate Software's words. Been reading through all the posts against me over my stance of stop killing games. Tons of people calling me a liar or that I misrepresented the initiative. Also, lots of content creators dogpiling on me to get their pound of flesh. Absolutely. Let's dig into what I actually said and did. I put out 2 videos on August 6th and August 7th, 2024. We watched one of those, I think the first one. These videos are linked at the bottom of the post. Many people have not watched them and are calling me a liar or attacking my character. Give the videos a watch. Monetization is disabled. I don't give a fuck if monetization is disabled. Who cares? I go through what the initiative is, how it's not law. Absolutely, it's not supposed to be law. It's a recommendation. And how it's a starting point for the entire process. This helps people understand that this is to start the conversation for change and can adapt later. That's exactly what the fucking initiative is for and to do. I then go through the initiative and some of its goals from the official page. I talk about the repercussions of them should they be implemented. Completely misrepresented, both of those. The goals and the repercussions. As written, all games need to be left in a functional, playable state. Not true. Existing games are exempt. Next, I bring up the crew and walk through the business around it, the sequels, the size of the player base. Sure, look, it's a bad example, but it does function. It does work. I harshly critique Ross Scott's wording in his videos because they disparage the lawmaking process and lawmakers, which doesn't benefit the player movement in any way. Agree. Talk in the second video about the potential scenarios where a studio could be abused if the initiative was implemented as written. It adds new paths for abuse, and that would need to be discussed to help hone this initiative into something that would do good without doing harm. Fine. We can have that after... Well, we can do that now. We don't even need to wait. But instead, you're berating the initiative for what will, I think, generally be a pretty positive good. I then explain that very few people in the game development space can actually discuss this from the other side due to fear of losing their jobs. A studio is much safer in silent dissent when they are discussing the drawbacks of your ideals. I think that's... Oh, the recent attacks on our games is obvious evidence of this. I don't know what that means. Does it mean his games? I think that's generally true. Like, somebody working at Act Blizz probably can't start a fucking union over this, right? Sure. But plenty of devs have chipped in and supported it. Like, people from, I know, like, some publishers, like Hyperstrange, New Blood, some of the other people that Ross mentioned, but plenty have. That's just a direct contradiction. Somewhat direct. An indirect contradiction, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Partial. The main issue with the initiative is that it's broad in its approach. Sure, that's good. It's good that it's broad. This is not feasible for all games at a technical level and could restrict developers from making online-only games like MMOs, MOBAs, and user-generated content games in the future. I disagree. I completely disagree. With this, World of Warcraft wouldn't go anywhere because it can be hosted on like personal servers. MOBAs, I don't think so, because again, like most of these are tested LAN in-house, and they have like LAN builds for like testing in general, like not just in development, but it's not like these are tested like on public servers. And user-generated content games. Disagree. I don't think Gmod is going anywhere. This list is not exhaustive, and it doesn't matter if you do or don't like those kinds of games. Wait. Why wouldn't it matter if you like? Why would you even bring those up if it doesn't matter? You're only bringing that up for the people who are obsessed with those types of games. This has the potential to restrict future developers from making kick-ass experiences because it locks a weight onto their designs. Dude, it's just lying. It's lie after lie after lie. Now, he could be lying because he's stupid. He could be lying because he, like, misunderstood, but it's complete misrepresentation. He knows what he's saying is written so plainly for him
Right. Parrot Software knows what he is saying. It's written too plainly for him not to understand. Absolutely. I think it's completely fucked up. Outside of that, I am not financially supported by live service games. I am a single player RPG. I make a single player RPG. Sure you do, buddy. Sure you do. And am the director of strategy for off-brand games. I am paid minimum wage because I care about the game succeeding, not profiting off of them. First off, if you didn't care about profiting, you wouldn't accept any money. Sorry, I just saw something really funny. Apparently in Bolt Gun, only 37% or 38% of players beat the boss that I just did. Holy shit, you should not have a third of your players left after 2.5 hours. Jesus Christ. Anyway. Yeah, let's look into off-brand games. What does off-brand games do? It might be the Steam Summer Sale. Might make things fucked up. Okay, so off-brand games has made Rivals of Aether 2. Maybe they made Rivals of Aether 1, I'm not sure. And they're currently making 2 games, Bonnie Bear Saves Frog Time and Aether Mancer. So I guess Rivals of Aether is the only like online only game they have. It's an indie fighting game. So is it even online? Could you play it offline? I have no idea. Wait, so why would you even bring this up?
My brother and I.
No, don't start playing the trailer. I don't care. To further the games we're publishing are playable offline anyways. Oh, yeah. Okay. Because their gameplay loops are not only based on interplayer interaction, not all games are like this, and not all games can be... Yeah. Dude, what is he talking about? Is he actually schizophrenic? Why are you even bringing this up? No, I've not been running away from discourse on this, and I talked about it for around 8 hours on stream yesterday. I never took my videos down, and I have not discussed the initiative in 10 months since I released those videos. My internet also died mid-broadcast, so I had to go live 30 minutes later. Thanks, ISP. Dude, who gives a fuck? For those that will scream he's doubling down, yes, I damn well am. I give a shit about this initiative. No, you don't give a shit. You want it to go down. Well, I guess you do care about it going down. What it means for games developers and players to finish out. He does not finish here. Just because I don't support this doesn't mean you should blindly follow me in this because I said pretty words on the internet. You also shouldn't blindly bash me like some other creators. This is the closest he will do. This is the closest he will get to apologizing or like being anywhere close to fair, is saying decide for yourself. But then he says apply critical thinking and don't outsource it, which implies that you should, kind of, in a way. He has all this negative language towards him, which is like, oh, maybe he's right. Pirate Software's top guy. I don't care that he's minimum wage. The initiative calls to require publishers that sell or license video games to consumers in the EU or related features and assets sold for video games they operate to leave said video games in a functional playable state. Okay. That can literally, you can leave that in dozens of ways, or like a dozen ways. That's so fucking insane. Specifically, the initiative seeks to prevent the remote disabling of games by the publishers before providing reasonable means to continue functioning of said video games without the involvement from the side of the publisher. So basically, this implies, like, they can either stop providing service for the game and keep it playable, or keep providing service, in which case it's playable anyway, and this doesn't matter. The initiative does not seek to acquire ownership. Dude must have been seething having to half semi apologize for this. Absolutely. He is getting so much shit, and he knows that he cannot, like, completely double down. This is not a doubling down. He says that he is, but it's not. He's like kind of staying at the same level where now he's like, read the initiative, despite earlier him actually saying, I am going to do everything I can to go against the initiative. Okay, so here's the other thing. I got mad about this because, oh god, my voice is starting to go. I need some water. It's like name dropping, even though Josh Strife Hayes and Charlie completely disagree. With Pirate Software. If you're mad at me for being a dick to Ross, I get it, and I'm sorry for that. I should not have lashed out, but I had an emotional response due to how important this subject is to me. On the developer side, I've been in a constant battle with people online for nearly a decade, trying to inform them how difficult it is to make and release video games. Release? I don't think so. Releasing actually isn't that difficult. Once you make a game, you pay like $100 to Steam and your game is done. You're released. You're out there. Successful? No, that's different. There's like a lot of advertising or whatever, but whatever. The idea of any of these technical hurdles are easy to overcome and would be simple to implement is the exact kind of thing I've been fighting. It never said it was going to be easy. But a lot of the situations, like, look, he doesn't understand. This is so fucking stupid. He can't be this stupid because he worked at Blizzard. And this is one of the things that makes me think that he's a coffee boy. Everybody else, like, lorded themselves over him because he was, like, his dad's, what is it, Nepolepsy? Nepolepsy? Neptunian. Nepotistic hire. And he was probably just like a coffee boy. I can't imagine anything else. Like, he doesn't understand that multiplayer games are like in-house made and they can only be in the house. They run on computers in the house, on servers in-house. And that is actually pretty easily distributable. It's been done many times. There's like an entire wiki of like freeware and abandonware games where people have made servers work on their home PC. I feel like I know more about computer science stuff and video game stuff than Thor does. And he's like this pro guy. But yeah, you can actually just run like server EXEs. Not exactly. It's not that simple. But you can release like server data and server scripting and server code, whatever. And people will make it functional. And it's really that easy. That would be the exact solution that Ross is looking for. When I bring up the issues with leaving online-only games in a functional playable state after sunsetting, I'm always met with responses diminishing the effort needed to do that. This is not a simple hurdle to overcome, and it's exactly why I don't like this initiative. You can't leave the challenges up to a figured-out mentality, and you can't diminish the work of those on the dev side just because you want your way. I guess I can kind of see this being an issue for like indie devs if they want to make like a gacha game or something. But like for someone like Ubisoft, right? It kind of feels like a rug pull if they release a game and then within a few months they shut it down, which actually does happen a lot, not for like Ubisoft, but for a lot of indie devs. And here's the thing. I'm pretty certain that the initiative doesn't even call for games to actually be playable. That's what they want. But what they call for is a plan for sustainable gameplay after end of service. Maybe it's providable. Maybe it's not. If a company goes out of business before a game is even like a month into release, what the fuck is gonna happen? Right? Crazy. Movements like this showcase to me how little the general public understands about game development, modern gaming architecture, and online games as a whole. This is why I put videos out poking holes in this, because I believe it sets the entire conversation back to the Stone Age in terms of developer-player understanding. Making shit is hard. Making shit when people think it's easy is harder. If you want all games to be left in a functional, playable state, then you need to listen to people when they talk about how infeasible that will be in a lot of situations. Actually, I think it's best to not listen to people if you want something like that. Since this is the initiative's primary goal as listed on the Eki page, it's kind of important to resolve this. Um, I just disagree. Look, I agree that it's not the easiest thing in the fucking world. But I also disagree that it's the hardest thing in the world. If it's so hard to make an MMO in a playable state for private servers, then why are there so many illegal private servers that serve the game? Because they are done illegally. Shit's easy when you don't have to comply with existing agreements or legal requirements. So, like, that sounds like it's actually incredibly easy to do exactly what he wants. To do exactly what Ross wants. That's him admitting fault. Like, that's him admitting that it's actually really easy to sunset games and still have a sustainable plan afterwards. Because it's done all the time illegally. So, like, right now, the only thing I can think of is, like, issues with licensing around, like, cars? Or maybe, like, licensing with middleware? Sure, I guess. But then if this actually does get put into EU law, then it's in everyone's best interest to maintain that. Oh, he got blocked. You can tell because the thing isn't blue. Okay, from one dev to another, you lack the intellectual octane to maneuver this space. Many games, specifically multiplayer, solved 90% of preservation issues decades ago. We just stopped doing it so we could push customers to the yearly reskin because that was more profitable. The problem has already been solved. It's strange to see a dev so lost on this. There's a few hangups with MTX. I'm not sure what that stands for. This is a design problem, not a preservation, full stop. Stay clear, man. If you want to build an online-only game in an environment, you would need to support that through the life cycle of development. Online-only games are made or broken based on players' demand for them. The demand goes down, then the game dies. You don't really know when or if this will happen, but you can... This isn't a response to what he said. This means that over the life cycle of the game, you'll need to constantly update those releasable versions. That means tester stuff is always up to date, and it's actually the one that's single player first, or at least like minimum player first. That means developers and tester time for every version of the game. Online games evolve over time. You wouldn't even really need to test the version you're putting out for the public. This is so faulty. I can't afford any generosity to this guy. He's so wrong. This means that that adds cost and pressure to every... Dude, he's acting like it's going to double the cost, but it's not. It's really not. We can limit restructuring with APIs. In your example of MMOs, even end-user communities have created their own APIs to facilitate when none exist. Sure, things get deprecated when you need to update, adjust, etc., but that's part of the business of running a service that requires maintenance. You're doing it anyway. Build it smarter from the onset and you'll be fine. Wait until everything crumbles in your toast. This is Dev 101. It seems like you might be talking about running a distributed architecture which doesn't work for all game services. You cannot do this when you need to source the source of truth to be kept from players to ensure a level playing ground. Outside of that, an API is just a communication bridge. What is your intent with an API and why? What would you be communicating over it? This is so off topic. What the fuck is Pirate Software on about? But yeah, so basically Pirate Software is like gone to being downright schizophrenic. I actually think he's lying a ton. Like, he just does not know about MMOs. He does not know. Wait, maybe that's why he's being so hard about this. Because he has, like, oh my god, that's why. He's pumped himself up to be such like a hype man for Blizzard. He knows everything about MMOs. And now he could be wrong about that. His reputation about knowing Blizzard knowledge, which might be one of the things that he holds most dear, is completely bunk. It's completely fucking, I forget the word for it. Fuck me. He's debunked. He's been debunked. He does not know what it takes to make an MMO. He has no understanding about what it takes to make an MMO. He doesn't know. He doesn't understand. I figured it out. He did not work at Blizzard. He showed up there. He got people coffee. He has not worked on Blizzard. To be fair, he has actually talked about being a security specialist. There's some stuff that he would only know by being a security specialist at Blizzard, but he didn't. I don't think he has as innate an understanding of video game development as he says. Like, he definitely showed up at the office and he was there and he did a ton of security stuff, sure. But I don't think he understands at all what it takes to actually run an MMO or support it. He's completely fucking wrong. Thor's just a know-it-all kind of guy? Absolutely. But this might be like one of the things that he holds most dear. And so he misunderstood it at first. And I think it's led him to a point where like everything he knows is getting discredited because he's assuming so much about what an ordinary developer might need when that's not the case at all. He does not understand. And at this point, I'm willing to take any of the other devs' words who trust this because they've actually made a game. Pirate Software hasn't made a game. He should have made it like 4 years ago and he would have been more trusted on topics like this. But he's I think it'll take a bit. It'll take like a few months. But I actually think his this has destroyed his reputation. At least in my mind, he's completely fucked. This has shown to me that he's like such a liar when it comes to video game stuff, and he can't admit it. He can't admit when he's wrong, and him doubling down has made it so that like he has an even less displayable understanding of video games. Jesus Christ. Mind blown. Okay. I got one more video to watch, and then that's it. Oh, it's Reddit. Hi, Reddit. Tectone? I don't care about Tectone. Looking for a very specific video. Wait, do I have it? I might have it. Yes. So this is Pirate Software's stream response, which I believe was before the tweet.
Yeah, Hutcher, I did. I think it's really hilarious to me that that entire community is so butt mad at me for putting out a video 10 months ago about their stuff and then not being refuted, and now it's my fault that everything is going wrong for them.
No, but you definitely helped.
Okay. Very cool.
You definitely contributed to the problem.
No, I need the rewards off of this. Which community? Stop killing games, guys. I specifically have not talked about their initiative for an entire 10-month period because people in their Reddit were trying to say that they wanted to bring it up here and try to get me to bait to talk about it. Like, bait me into talking about it because it gave the most amount of upvotes, the most amount of, like, signups for their initiative that they'd ever gotten. So I put out that video saying, I don't like this. These are the reasons I don't like it. And then I stopped talking about it entirely for 10 months, and now it's my fault that their initiative died, apparently.
No, I mean, you helped. You were a huge fucking part of it. Yeah.
You also didn't want to talk to Ross? I didn't. I didn't like the way that he was approaching the situation. I was very clear about that.
Yeah, that was incredibly wrong of you to do.
That was not a bannable offense, Wolf. That was a person being totally normal in their conversation. Let me fix this.
Okay, if you unbanned a guy, cool.
Just talking about this is not a problem. People coming in and flinging insults are being...
Does he have a wife? Here's what I understand about the situation. He got a wife like fucking 12, 13 years ago. Imagine her poor soul and getting into an argument with him. I think she would just agree and then leave the room. That's what I imagine happened a lot. We got married like what, 12, 13 years ago? This might be, I don't know. Whatever. They got married like 12, 13 years ago, and then they separated and then divorced, I believe. Because that was a part of like the furry stuff. And then I think he married his roommate, who was like a random person he met on Twitter and brought them into his house. Not entirely certain.
An asshole is the problem. Yeah. It's your fault when you're the one in power. We're both content creators. We both have a platform.
Yeah, but yours is way bigger.
And I chose to talk about this from a game developer perspective and say, I don't like this for
You're wrong. Your opinion is you do not know the game dev perspective.
these reasons. His community went on the offensive and tried to do underhanded tactics, and his response to it was also not stellar.
What underhanded tactics did he do? Because he brought you up on stream? What about your underhanded tactics of not using mana gem?
Not a fan of it. So because of that, I didn't want to have a conversation with him. I said, I don't like this for these reasons. Take it or leave it. That's it. Welcome to a clash on the internet. Like, that's how that works. If you're a dick, I'm not going to talk to you.
Yeah, that's wrong of you. Because in, like, this is one of the things that makes me think he knows he's wrong, but he has to double down because that's just his, like, natural reaction. That's his natural behavior. Because, like, if you are correct, you want to bring that guy on and embarrass the fuck out of him. You want to discredit him. You want to make him wrong in all the eyes of everyone possible and remove all dissent from your community. Or not all dissent, but like remove dissent at all from your community by embarrassing the guy and making him wrong. Instead, I think he knows that Ross is actually in the right, but he's doubled down so much. And that's the reason he didn't talk about it for like a year, for almost a year. Is exactly that. It's because he doesn't want to give credit or even like reputation or any kind of mention to Stop Killing Games, because that would lead people to believe that, oh, Thor's actually wrong on this.
Because I don't have to.
I wish somebody would ask, don't you want to embarrass Ross? Don't you want to discredit his movement?
Yeah, exactly. How dare you not let yourself be used by us? Ridiculous shit.
What happened to I'm going to do everything in my power to like
Dude, probably a lot
take down the movement?
You can't take blame for having an opinion. I stated my opinion. Full-chested on the videos, never took them down. They're both at 70% positive and more.
That's
like
not great for a creator of your size.
And I still stand by it. I'm not going to change that. I have no reason to. Why would I want to change that? Yeah. You're not going to stand for this? You're going to sit down and keep watching? That's funny.
No, it's not.
Is this House Spinette here? I think it is. That's very funny.
Oh.
The internet would be a much nicer place if people refused to speak to people who bait them. That's why I don't talk about it. Like, literally, I was like, all right, I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm talking about it today to give you guys context because it's been 10 months.
Don't give us context. Give us content. Fucking fight Ross.
And most of the community doesn't remember this shit, which is hilarious. Which makes it even funnier.
People said that, and his reply was like, no, I don't want to talk to him or some shit. I might be framing that up. I could believe it. I could totally believe that he said that. Yeah.
And then after today, I'll go back to not talking about it, banning anyone who tries to bait for it. Normal shit.
Oh, I just watched somebody get banned. Dude unironically became the guy from World of Warcraft from South Park. Totally.
So that's the Stop Killing Games Reddit, which I believe at the moment, they are actually banning people who talk about pirate software. I think this is kind of a mistake because pirate software is like a very good jumping off point for like wider community, and probably like more than well, I don't know, maybe like 1,000 people. This community has like jumped in size just from the pirate software content. Watching Chud cover this earlier, and it's what made me want to cover it. Kind of watched it in reverse order now that I look at it. But yeah, let's see if there's anything new. So, Upper Echelon did a video? Okay. Imagine people are just like talking about it. And it's not like anything new. Dude, people are making a killing out of this. I think Asmongold had a talked about it a bit. He won't stop killing games. An hour long? Jesus. So he's actually posting the initiative to check it out. That's good, I guess. Yeah. Oh, new fish tank recap. See what happens. I wonder if fish tank is back yet. They are not back yet. Jesus. Been like 5 hours, 6 hours. Yeah. All right. I think I'm gonna call the stream here. I feel like this has actually caused everything about pirate software to get called into question. Look, it's me. Just because of like all of his reactions have proved that he knows less about this stuff than anyone could have possibly imagined. It's such a shit show on his part. Is Bam really on Fish Tank? Yeah. Yeah, Bam was on Fish Tank. He was on Fish Tank twice, actually. Freddy tried his best to impress him for skating. But I think Bam was kind of just annoyed by Freddy. They let Ricky Berwick on. They brought Ricky Berwick on. And he was pretty good. But I think he left very early on today. Or like very late last night. It was before I woke up. He was there when I went to sleep and he was gone whenever I woke up. But yeah, Bam was there for a bit. Excuse me. How many signatures has that Stop Killing Games got? Since I started the stream, it was 563. It's now at 567. Yeah.
Excuse me. So what was it? So if you go to like freeware Wikipedia, freeware games. Freeware games. Free online, free to play, Windows only freeware. List of commercial video games released as freeware. There we go. Let's bring it over here. A lot of these games, no, not due by release. A lot of these games have like online stuff. Oh wait, sorry. I believe this is the wrong category. Not sure. Am I thinking of the right term? Oh, I'm looking for free and open source games. A lot of these actually have been. Dude, I know this list existed. Fuck off. Oh, here it is. Okay. So yeah, there have been games with multiplayer in them that have been released as freeware. Their source code has been released, and sure, whatever. But it's totally like possible. It's totally feasible to make these games available. Multiplayer survival game. The Castle Doctrine, which was an MMO. There's another MMO from like the early 2000s I think on here. NetHack? I don't know. Whatever. Games with later release source code. Oh, this is not stuff. That's like Portal 2. Postal 3. So yeah, it's totally possible. I think it really is just like a company thing. That like they don't want it out there, especially because like most like licenses for games that are about to die typically get bought up or they just get like let go. So like EA, Microsoft, ActBliz will like have they own a ton, or Sony too. They own a ton of MMO stuff that they refuse to let go. It would be great if they did. And I think that might be like a bigger argument later on, maybe. Or stop killing games would be like games that were MMOs and then died, but like the account storage is still there, being held in a server in Seoul, Korea or something. Seoul. Oh, pardon me. Yeah. I think Pirate Software is wrong. I think kids relook at stuff and just admit he was wrong. It'd be nice if he did have a complete change of heart. But yeah. Okay. I'm gonna head out. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Have a wonderful tomorrow. And I'm not sure when I'll be on next. I didn't expect to be on today, but fucking Pirate Software decided to have like a crazy crash out on Twitter. So yeah, have a wonderful night tomorrow. See you